Hey there. It's exactly 3:30 p.m. on Thursday. October. Sorry, I keep thinking it's October. It's August, August 24th. And I am still in my unit, in spite of having made some tremendous efforts this morning to make it out of here by 11:30 a.m. The problem, once again, was not on my end. It was with the environment and the people in the environment. I have no control over that. I can only control my own actions and goals and behaviors and efforts. And I always make sure, unless I'm really sick, that my goals, actions, efforts, and behavior are optimal, meaning they are as good as they can possibly be in any given moment. I am not crazy. Crazy, by definition, means that you are not making efforts that are goal oriented, sequential, logical, and effort based. Crazy means that you're just kind of like a top that's been let loose, a spinning top, and you're just sort of spinning all over the place with no game plan and no, linear trajectory or anything like that. My point is that my environment has nothing to do with me. I don't control what the landlord does in this building. I don't control who they rent to. I don't control who they choose to place in adjacent units where there's maybe 5 inches of drywall with no insulation separating you from some people who are verifiably severely mentally and emotionally disturbed. And some people who live in this building have some physical disabilities, but most of them, as far as I can tell, and from what I've been told, are mentally dysfunctional. That is not my plan. That is not my decision making. That is entirely on the landlord. Again, all I can do is try to control my own behavior, my own actions, my own goals, my own efforts. And I always make sure that those are as optimal as they can possibly be every single day. So this morning, I set my alarm for 6:30. I was awake by 6:45. I didn't get much sleep. I got maybe 3.5, 4 hours. I was really tired. But I had to be somewhere by 11:30, not because I was told to be anywhere, but because that was my own goal, is to be somewhere by 11:30 this morning, to make it out of the building, showered, clean, ready to go, presentable, functional. So I had coffee lined up. I had a breakfast lined up. I was up and ready to get into the shower by around 9:30, 10 a.m. And guess what happened? Something that I don't control happened, and it's always the same issue. Somebody came into the bathroom that's behind the kitchen sink right here, and it's also behind the wall of my toilet, and started deliberately smoking very intense and pungent marijuana and cigar smelling substances, and the fumes and smoke started filling my bathroom once again. So I had to go out to the hallway at around 10:30 this morning, walk around and see where the smoke, fumes, odors, and overpowering stink that was filling my unit from behind this wall were coming from. And as always, they did not come from the hallway. They were not coming from the front of the stairwell. They were not coming from downstairs, because if they were coming from the unit below, I would also smell them around this area right here and around my headboard. But they always come from the wall behind my toilet and the wall behind this kitchen sink, which is the bathroom of Unit 78. As I keep mentioning in videos, Unit 78 is currently vacant and empty. Jorge, the maintenance manager, seems to have stayed there a few times over the last few weeks. I haven't seen or heard him in there for weeks now. It's been about 2 weeks. And the Greenville group continues to choose to house some very behaviorally disturbed career criminals, including a known psychopath named Jasmine Irizarry. I am not the one who came up with this idea. The local police station are actually the ones who informed me multiple times about 4 or 5 years ago that this person is a psychopath, quote, with homicidal tendencies, according to one sergeant, and that she, quote, can hack into anything. That's according to the Greenville group. Their own manager told me that also a few years ago. I'm not the one who comes up with this idea. However, when I report this to law enforcement, they don't seem to be able to tell the difference between somebody reporting something that someone told them that sounds crazy maybe, and somebody who is crazy. But there is a huge difference. And I keep mentioning this in my videos. Just because what you say sounds crazy does not mean that you yourself are crazy. You are simply reporting something that you're either observing or that keeps happening to you, like getting physically assaulted all the time or having people scream at you that they can see everything you do in your bathroom. That's not you being crazy. That's you reporting other people's crazy. There's a huge difference. But as I mentioned in the videos I made yesterday afternoon, where I contacted a couple of law enforcement agencies, and maybe the problem was on my end and I just sort of spit everything out. And it's like, yeah, my landlords, I've been told by a couple of housing agents and social workers that they have connections to organized crime, blah, blah, blah. The minute you mention organized crime to law enforcement, apparently they shut down. They don't want to hear it. And so they think that you're some kind of crazy person making up stories about organized crime. So unfortunately, I think law enforcement needs to improve their response on that front and to be better trained to differentiate between people who are verifiably insane and people who are sane but reporting stuff that is crazy. Crime is crazy. Anything that is criminal related is crazy. That is a fact. That's why it's called crime and not, science or education or art, because it's crime. Crime is crazy. Unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't seem to realize this. So people who report crime and criminal activities, certain types of crime or certain types of criminal activities, are automatically labeled crazy, even though they're just reporting something that is verifiably happening, such as your landlord being part of a organized crime organization. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't a landlord be part of an organized crime organization? They have a lot of power. They have a lot of connections. They have a lot of vested interest in not following the laws all the time and cutting corners and saving a lot of money by not making repairs or, getting rid of certain tenants that are giving them problems, that are costing them money, that kind of thing. Why wouldn't a landlord be a bit shady, right? Because it benefits them financially. Maybe it benefits them economically and politically as well. So reporting that your landlord appears to be part of some criminal network or group is not crazy. It's entirely within the realm of what is possible. Probably pretty common in a city like Boston, where there are a lot of crooked landlords that don't follow the laws, that don't follow rules, that might discriminate against certain tenants, might even physically harass certain tenants to try to get them out, that kind of thing. Yeah. So unfortunately, the people who are supposed to be solving crimes, investigating crimes, and deterring crimes don't have a very good response protocol to sorting through people who report certain types of crime and then certain people who are just totally crazy. Usually it's the criminals that are crazy. That's a fact. Law-abiding citizens who do not have criminal records aren't usually crazy, right? That right there is something that should be a very clear distinction and a very clear marker of sanity. If you don't have any kind of a criminal history, and I don't, I haven't ever been charged with anything, taken to court for any kind of crime, and certainly not arrested. I've never been arrested. I've gotten some speeding tickets, a lot of parking tickets, had my car towed a few times, got rid of my car, then I never had to deal with parking tickets or towing again. So aside from a bunch of traffic related issues when I had a car, I don't have any kind of criminal history whatsoever. So usually if you don't have a criminal history, you are not crazy, because crazy people are the ones who commit crime. People with mental health issues, people with emotional problems, people with severe psychosis and compulsions, like the sex offenders that the landlord keeps placing in this building, they are the ones who commit crime, right? I mean, people in their right minds don't usually commit criminal acts unless they're desperate, like maybe they desperately need money, so they're going to, do something illegal to try to get money, like sell drugs or something. But other than that, if you're a sane, rational person, you don't commit crimes. And unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't see that. They think that if you are reporting certain types of crime, like organized crime or people who use non-traditional weapons, that aren't guns and knives, then you're insane. That's a problem. That really needs to be fixed. So again, yesterday afternoon, I contacted 2 law enforcement agencies to try to report what keeps happening in this building that is highly illegal. And they thought that because I was reporting organized crime, that I was crazy, and that I was reporting the use of non-traditional weapons and other methods used to harm people, right? So not everybody uses guns and knives to hurt other people. Sometimes they try to vandalize your stuff. Sometimes they try to put bad chemicals in your food. Sometimes they break and enter into your apartment and put bad things in your food. Sometimes they use things like laser pointers or other electronic assault devices to try to hurt you without leaving a bloody mess or without using a shotgun. I mean, I think anybody who is sneaky about their attempts at hurting people are not going to be as obvious as using a gun or a knife. That is the most obvious, way of hurting somebody, and it's pretty primitive. Criminals, moved beyond guns and knives like 100 years ago, right? Longer. People have been using poison forever. People have been using radiation for, 50 years now. You read it in the news where people put radiation in their, coworkers' drinks if they work in a science lab. I worked with radiation for 15 years as a research scientist. That stuff is so dangerous that you have to put it behind lead bricks in the lab. You have to wear lead aprons when you're working with it. It can easily, really, really seriously hurt people. And if you have a crazy coworker, all they need to do is run out of the building with a little tiny vial of radioisotope I-125 or P53 and put it in somebody's drink or in their food, and boom, you've got a non-traditional but very harmful crime. Okay, and that's actually happened here in the Boston area. There's a lot of science labs, and there were a few times when scientists who had some emotional issues put some P53 in their coworkers' coffee and stuff like that. So reporting that doesn't mean that you're crazy and paranoid. It simply means that you're reporting something that was done by someone who is crazy. But there's a huge difference. And unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't seem to be able to differentiate between the two. So, it's a head scratcher, but all I can do is keep documenting and reporting what happens in this unit, because a lot of crazy stuff happens and it's not on my end. So mid-morning, again, I had to go out into the hallway to try to figure out where all the smoke and fumes that were rapidly filling my entire bathroom and this area right here were coming from. They were not coming from the hallway, as they never do. They were not coming from the front stairwell. They were not coming from below. They were coming from someone who keeps deliberately smoking, burning, and propagating the same exact set of fumes, odors, and smoke from behind this wall as they have been for the last 9 years now. And that person is a former resident of that unit who was recently moved out, according to maintenance, but who continues to live in the building. And it's a homicidal psychopath named Jasmine Irizarry. I am not the one who came up with that idea. It is the police themselves who told me that she's a psychopath with homicidal tendencies. But ever since they told me that, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what she acts like. She sits behind that wall. She engages in all types of extremely harmful, disruptive, attention-seeking, dysfunctional behaviors. She's a psychotic stalker. She keeps accessing the space behind this wall. The fumes are not coming from anywhere other than behind that wall. That is where they are most intense, and it's not coming from below either, because they've been going on now for 9 years. The same exact unusual set of cigar smells, burning rubber, and marijuana smoke have been coming from behind that wall for 9 years. The person who lives directly below now has only lived there for a year and a half. The stink that I keep smelling from behind that wall, including this morning, has been coming through that wall for 9 years, because the same exact psychopath who is too mentally and emotionally disturbed to actually have any kind of a job outside of this building, and who keeps just sitting in that bathroom for hours at a time, engaging in attention-seeking behavior, is the same person who's been smoking, burning, and propagating these 3 very unusual and distinctive smells from behind that wall for 9 years. And again, as I keep reporting, she keeps using some type of remote capacity electronic assault device. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know that those devices exist. Some of them are for sale on self-defense websites and other websites that sell weapons, like tasers, like stun guns, like remote controlled tasers, like remote controlled stun guns. She's using some type of device like that. And dear police officers, when I call you and say my neighbor is using some type of remote controlled stun gun, do not tell me that I'm crazy. These devices exist, and I'm simply reporting the behavior of someone who you told me is a homicidal psychopath. I did not come up with that idea. The police told me that. So now they're saying, well, we don't know that. Well, you did 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So what changed? I mean, I know that she's also a cyber criminal, so maybe she has wiped her own criminal record clean. I don't know. It's entirely possible, given that she can hack into anything, according to Greenville Management, who also seem to be very proud of her ability to electronically hack into all types of devices. And they said about her cybercrime abilities, quote, oh, she is very good. She can get into anything. She can hack into anything. So I didn't come up with that. They did. So I'm simply reporting what they said. Does that make me crazy when I report what other people have told me about someone who keeps engaging in very harmful and disruptive behavior from behind that wall? No, it simply makes people who think that I'm crazy because I'm reporting something that is crazy stupid. Sorry, but it's true. If you can't tell the difference between someone who is normal but reporting something that is crazy, or that is reporting somebody else's crazy behavior, and that person themselves being crazy, if you can't tell that difference, then you're just stupid, and that's a fact.